Hey friend, Mike McCurry here. Thank you so much for joining us once again in the huddle. Not only have you joined us, but we have Brother Todd Lofbaum, one of the assistant directors here at football camp. And your responsibilities have grown a little bit over these past few days and months and years, really. But yesterday we were talking about people that we invite. We reminisced about who invited you. And I remember who told my parents about it. But there are other people now. It's kind of like Paul talking to Timothy about, these things that you've heard, pass them on to others. Now we've told other people about football camp, and we've seen an investment grow from that, haven't we?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The investment is, well, just to finish a thought from yesterday, people criticize, and I've had parents over the years, I'm not sending my son there, or some of them would send their son, and they would, complain about the cost or this or that. And every time I would say, you need to come up on Friday and watch your son play and take in the camp on Friday. That's what Friday's for, for parents to come. And every time the parent has came to me and said, I'm so sorry, I cannot believe what goes on here.
Right.
And then they want to come and work the next year. Because they see what's going on and they want to be part of where God's at.
Right. It really is incredible. I mean, the way I normally put it is the quality and the quantity of decisions. I've been to a lot of camps, a lot of conferences, and again, this is no competition. I mean, I'll be 4 weeks at another great camp this year, but there is something about men speaking to men, and then you have, we have 75 coaches, and then another almost 75 staff people, basically all of them pastors, missionaries, evangelists, or godly laymen. So there's basically not a one that's not one of those categories, and to have all of those people, it's we don't take it for granted. We want the Spirit of God to move, and we don't take that for granted. But is there little wonder that He does choose to meet with us as often as He does? I mean, some of the most powerful messages I've ever heard preached have been at football camp. Talk to us. Maybe we'll go a little different direction we were planning, but talk to us about the preaching at football camp.
Yes, sir. The preaching has been phenomenal. I can think of messages I've heard over the years. Brother Coral preached one about an arm and a leg, and it just a phenomenal. He preached another one probably 20 years ago about God's pavilions where He meets with men. And I mean, after the service, matter of fact, I was sitting with Brother Saney, and he looked at me and said, "He unloaded the wagon tonight, didn't he?" And that's really describes what the preaching is. It's every time the wagon's unloaded, and Brother Areza preached Brother Houston preached a message. On if you love me, hate sin, and I'm not quoting that verse exactly right, and he just kept saying, I don't love the Lord like I should because I don't hate sin like I should. Right. Well, every one of us are in that category. Amen. Amen. And Brother Areza stood up with tears in his eyes. A boy stood up and went down. Then Brother Areza stood up, and 7-minute message and a 2-hour altar call. Amen. And
it was not emotionalism. It wasn't just. It wasn't a repeated refrain or song, and I'm not downplaying other things, but it's amazing to see what God has done and continues to do. And if I can, I'll just leave you with one call to action from this episode. Would you pray with us about this year at football camp? I already mentioned we don't take for granted. We don't just assume that God's going to show up just because we've done all this work. Another friend, we want to be, what is a verse in Psalms? I'm going to butcher it probably. But those with a clean heart and clean hands are the ones that can go to the Lord. And basically, that's our desire. We want to come to God. We want to come to football camp ready to go. And one of the reasons that these guys come unload the wagon is because they come with a wagon full.
Yes, sir.
And so we are incredibly blessed with the men that come to football camp. I'm going to encourage you to come. If you're not already planning to, young men, parents, moms, dads, send your young men to football camp. I think they would, number one, they'd enjoy it. It's a good manly activity, but also the opportunity to learn some things on the character side, the leadership side, but most importantly, the spiritual, as we've just mentioned. Thank you so much for joining us in the huddle today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about a new opportunity for men, grown men, adults, to come to football camp in kind of a different circumstance than we've had in many years past. So join us tomorrow in the huddle. God bless.